Hello, and welcome once again to Family Historian. My name is Stephen Conti. Tonight, Family Historian is going to jail, and that means we're going to learn how to use prison records in finding our jailbird ancestor. And joining me on tonight's show, I am very honored to have as my guest a very bright young lady. Her name is Marisa Bozarth. Marisa is the staff historian for the Burlington County Prison Museum in Mount Holly, Burlington County, New Jersey. And on tonight's show, Marisa is going to teach us how we can use these very austere prison records. And now let's welcome historian, mother of four, and no, she has never done time, Marisa Bozarth. Marisa, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much for having me.
I want to thank you right now for driving all the way up here from South Jersey. You know, we South Jerseyans, or you South Jerseyans, and we North Jerseyans don't know much about your area of New Jersey. All we know are three towns, Atlantic City, Wildwood, and Cape May. We rarely venture into the mysterious Pine Barrens of Burlington County or visit that lovely town, Mount Holly, where your prison is, or Cherry Hill, or some of those other towns like Hamilton. So welcome to North Jersey, another culture, I guess.
Right, it is. It's a very different area,
right?
But it's beautiful.
Thank you,
So
thank you.
Thanks for having us.
And so is yours.
Thank you.
Before we get into these wonderful, austere records, let's go way back in time to the Colonial Period. Now, you told me that there were no prisons in those days. So where did they put these people who did commit these crimes?
Most of the times they were put in private homes. Most of it was depending on the crime. More severe crime, they would send them to a larger city that would have a small jail.
Right, right. I know I was up in Salem, Massachusetts, the witch town, and they had a dungeon. They showed us where the dungeon was, where they would put people who were accused of witchcraft or other horrible crimes. So a lot of these records, these early records, if you have an ancestor who was incarcerated, those records would be where for this colonial period?
Most of those, if you're going to find anything, are going to be in that town's records. In a township office are the most likely place to find anything from that time frame.
A town archive or a county archive?
Yes, usually a county clerk's office. They they're typically the one that would hold these types of records, or a township municipal building.
Right, so there were no prison records during that colonial period. Okay. All right. I was also told that you can obtain some prison records from the National Archives.
Yeah, the National Archives has a searchable database, and you can typically, depending on the crime, you could find some stuff on that database. Sometimes there's a small fee associated with obtaining a first-hand account of it, but they are available. You can get most of the information.
Right. This is amazing, Marisa. I never knew prison records were so accessible and in such abundance. And you can find them online. You can do all of this research online if you have a not-so-squeaky clean ancestor. Okay, very good. Now, let's jump ahead. Some prisons will still have records. They will still have their own archive. And this brings us to the Burlington County Prison Museum, where Marisa works and is a tour guide and historian. And many people come to you, descendants of these prisoners, both male and female, looking for records. And what do you call these records?
Typically, they're just prison logbooks. They're just a book where they recorded people's names, what their crimes were, how long they were going to be in prison, things like that. And we have several of them from the beginning all the way up until the 60s.
And it will tell the nature of the crime?
Yes.
Okay. And when was your prison opened?
1811.
1811, and you had public executions there.
We did.
Until what year?
Up until 1906.
That late? 1906.
Yeah.
I'm amazed at that. Right, right. Now, I know you did bring copies of these prison logs.
Yes.
And I'm going to have our wonderful guest, Marisa Bozarth, read a few of these because they give you a wealth of information on your prisoner ancestor. Okay, it's all yours.
All right. So these records are from 1874. So they give you the prisoner's name, for example, Charles Platt, with a charge of drunkenness and vagrancy. If you're not sure what vagrancy is, it's homelessness.
Okay.
With a sentence of 60 days or until they could pay their $5.46 costs. They were in until March 1st of 1874. It also gives you the name of the committing officer, who at this point was George Rigg, and that they served a total of 60 days. So they served their full sentence.
Right, right.
Another example is Joseph Foley, who was in for disorderly conduct, who was given a sentence of 15 days on January 14th of 1874. And was committed by Charles Wolcott, and he served his full sentence as well. William Snyder, who was in for 10 days for vagrancy, and was brought in January 15th and served his full 10 days as well. Some of them don't get very long sentences, such as John Small. He was also a vagrant who received a one-day sentence on January 15th of 1874 and served his full 1 day.
Right. Now, do you have people coming into the prison who might be descendants of, and how does that happen very often?
It happens often enough, more often than you would think it would happen. We get people in that ask us for information, that they've heard a story.
Right.
That, their grandfather or their great uncle or somebody had been in jail, usually for something silly,
like
and they were younger.
Right, like being a horse thief or
right,
something.
Exactly.
Right,
or,
right.
A drunken night out or disorderly conduct when they were young, something like
Right.
that. And they want to know if the story's true. It's just been a family legend up until that point. And we can pull the log books and go through them for them or with them and find out, find that person and see what's there.
Right. Do most more modern day prisons have records on the premises, and are they open to the public?
The current prisons don't have them open to the public.
I see.
It has to be, I think there's a 30-year limitation before they could be public.
Right,
So for our facility, everything is public because we've extended that period.
Right.
But, yeah.
Now, your prison was built in 1811, closed in 1965, okay?
Yes.
And you told me a very remarkable story about a grandpa who had served time in the 60s. Can you share that with our viewers?
Sure.
This is wonderful.
Yeah.
Please.
So an older gentleman came in with his grandson and had told us that he served time in the prison not long before it had closed down. He was a young gentleman when it happened, and he brought his grandson in to show him where he had served his sentence out, and to kind of show him this is what could happen if you don't obey the law, if you don't live properly.
Yes.
You could end up here. And now he learned his lesson. The grandfather was there. He served his sentence. He did what he had to do, but he never went back to jail again. It was enough. To kind of teach him this isn't how you want to live, and he wanted his grandson to get that same experience with him.
And he showed him his cell.
Yep,
Yeah.
he showed him his cell. He remembered his prisoner number. He could tell you people that were in the cell with him. He remembered it, even though it's prison. He remembered it fairly fondly and vividly.
A very remarkable. It's like that Scared Straight program. Don't do this.
Right. Yep.
Isn't that? I was amazed when I heard that story. Yeah. If you ever have a chance, go down to Mount Holly, which is the county seat of Burlington County. It's a lovely town, and the prison is right there. And we'll talk about your prison very shortly, and with hours of operation. And it's a wonderful place. I did take the tour alone, all by myself. It was kind of creepy, but very educational, and it's a wonderful outing for the day. Now, what I also like about doing prison research are those infamous mugshots. You've all seen mugshots, and we have a few on the set tonight. And Marisa did bring some mugshots with her. And when you're doing your research, they might even send you these, or you could find these online, as I did. And here are some criminals, and this will show you that nobody is above the law. There are some people who think they are, but that's another show. Anyway, male, female, young, old, black, white, Asian, rich, poor, anybody can be a criminal. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
very much so.
but not us, not us. Okay. And we're going to go over these right now to show you these various mugshots and the information on the mugshot. Okay, it's all yours in alphabetical order. Okay, Marisa.
Okay, so the first one is Matthew Coulson, who was born in 1908. He is a laborer by trade with a fresh complexion. He has brown eyes, is 5'6", and also has brown hair. Identifying marks is a CEW on his left forearm and a tattoo on his right forearm. And he was arrested for housebreaking and various classes of larceny.
Oh, my word. Well, what is larceny?
Theft.
It is theft. Okay, all right. I see that
Yes.
word a lot.
Yep.
Okay, who's up next? The lineup.
John Gallagher, who was born in 1901, who's also a laborer with a fresh complexion. That he has hazel eyes and brown hair and is 5'7.5" He has minus a left eye, so he is missing his left eye. And he is in for public housebreaker and also steals from motor cars and uses various methods of entry.
Isn't that something? Now, these prisoners were not in your prison.
They were not,
No.
no.
Okay. But you did have one famous prisoner.
Yes.
Can you tell our viewers who that was?
We had Albert DeSalvo in the 1950s, better known as the Boston Strangler.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, he was only there for 2 days before the Boston Strangler incidents took place.
Right.
He was stationed at Fort Dix at our local military base and committed a crime off base. So he was brought to our facility.
This is before he became the famous Boston.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Yep.
And he was in your prison. That's your claim to fame
That's
there.
it.
Okay. All right, let's keep going here.
Yep. All right, so we had James Hargraves Jones, who was born in 1896 and is a molder by trade. He has blue eyes and brown hair and is 5'1.5". His marks is that he has a round scar on the right side of his face. And his crime is that he begs in residential areas and breaks into houses which he finds unoccupied.
Okay. And this one, we have a lot of information on this fellow right here.
Now, this is Charles Johnson. He is from Chicago. He is a laborer by trade. His criminal occupation is a burglar. He was 23 years old at the time of his arrest.
Yeah.
He's a little over 5 feet tall. They even give you his weight. It's not 155 pounds. Medium build, light complexion. So you really get an idea of what they looked like.
Yes.
He was arrested on July 21st of 1896. It tells you who he was arrested by, even though I can't make it out. And he was charged with burglary in that instance as well.
You know, hearing these crimes, Marisa, compared to what's going on today, I mean, I'm afraid to watch the news, as I'm sure you people are. These are just very mild crimes.
Right. Well, most of them that you come across in the books or in the older records are.
Yeah. I mean, compared to what's going on today.
Yes.
And you, as a mother of four, it's really astounding to you, isn't it?
It is.
Yes.
It
yes.
is.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, what do your kids say when you tell them, "Mommy's going to prison today to work or whatever"? I guess they're used to it.
They are. They're used to it. They've been there. They've toured the building. They've been there for events. So it's kind of a second nature at this point. Yeah.
And I hear on Halloween they had some kind of event there. Is that correct?
We used to do a big haunted house on Halloween.
At the prison.
At the prison. Yeah, we don't do it any longer. It outgrew us.
Right.
So they relocated, but we did it for a number of years.
Right. Now, the modern day prison for Burlington County in Mount Holly, which is the county seat, is right behind you.
Yep.
That's the real deal
Yep,
right
maximum security is directly behind us.
there. Isn't that something? Isn't that something?
Yeah.
Okay, let's go onward with these inmates.
All right, the next one is James Lowry. He has an alias of Johnstone and the Sunderland Kid. He was born in 1892 and is also a laborer by trade. His blue eyes and brown hair. Is 5'6" tall. His marks are a tattoo with dots and a web on his left hand. And he has a scar on his right hand. And he was in jail for larceny from a person and robbery. An expert pickpocket and associates with all classes of pickpockets.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
So this gives you a wealth of information,
They
the
do.
researcher. And as I said, these can be sent to you they'll send you
request, yeah.
upon request. So you get so much information, you know. And so I guess it pays to have an inmate in the family. Who knows? Okay, let's go onward now.
Okay. Alexander Murray, who was born in 1906. He has blue eyes, fair-colored hair. He is 5'7". And he was arrested for larceny and shop breaking. And it specifically says he enters by means of skylight in the roof.
They're so detailed.
Yes, and his is interesting because there's a handwritten note on his that says R.I.P. London in 1940 in the Blitz. So it gives you even more information as to
that's
how he would have
wonderful.
passed
Where
away.
he died during the Blitz in England.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? Now, I know we've been showing you all of these male inmates, but you ladies, you're up there also. Don't worry. Okay, equality. We have equality here.
Yes.
And I think these are older mugshots because the woman in this picture has like a blackboard in front of her. And can you tell us who she is?
That's Jane Forbes, who was arrested on larceny, I believe in 1905.
Which is theft,
Yes.
larceny. Okay, okay, all right. And what is grand larceny? Is that a?
It has to do with the value of what you're stealing.
I see. I see. You can tell I'm squeaky
So
clean,
there's
right? Yeah.
there's petty larceny and grand larceny, and it just depends on the value.
Petty is the least.
Right. Yeah. If you're stealing something larger, something worth more money, it would be going up to grand
I
larceny.
see. Okay. All right, and that's her. And then we have another lovely young lady here.
Yep. Also arrested for larceny, Mary A. Butts, also arrested in 1904.
So these are very early ones.
Yes.
Yeah, 1904. And then I think we have one more lady here.
Yes. This is Minnie Richards.
And you get a profile shot of her.
Yes, you get 2 pictures for her and more information because it's a little bit more sophisticated record. So you have her weight, she was 103 pounds, was 5'7". She has a fair complexion. She was born in Chicago. And her crime was shoplifting at the Borton store.
At the what store?
Borton. They give you the store name.
And she was shoplifting.
And she was shoplifting, yes.
Right.
She was 18 years old at the time, it says.
So I wonder how the descendant feels when he or she sees this.
Right.
But you know, that's life. You know, your ancestors, not all of them made the right choices. And we saw people here tonight who did not make the right choices. And I'm sure if all of you did some deep digging with distant cousins, in my case, from the same family, I'm related to a saint. Padre Pio. I'm a distant cousin to Padre Pio.
That's cool.
And from that same family, I'm related to a notorious drug lord in Miami, Florida. We all share the same DNA. It's amazing. I mean, these are distant cousins,
Right.
but they came up in my DNA. I had that DNA test done.
Right.
And this is what I found, So that's life,
Yes.
And we're going to show you a series of mugshots right now. And as I said, nobody is above the law. Male, female, black, white, Asian, rich, poor, from all ethnic backgrounds. And unfortunately, that's part of life. Let's talk about your prison.
Okay.
The one that you go to, but you're not there every day.
No, I'm not.
You're not. You go to other areas in Burlington County.
Yep.
And you are the historian for Burlington County, or for just these local places?
For just the ones that are local, that are run by our Parks Department.
And can you name them?
Smithville Village, the Prison Museum, and the Lyceum of History and Natural Sciences.
Very good. I'm very proud of you.
Thanks.
And how do you do all of this being the mother of four?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Okay,
But
great.
it's fun. I enjoy it. So.
All right, let's talk about the Burlington County Prison Museum. And you must visit this. There are other prison museums in America that you can visit as well. But let's talk about yours first. And we have a book on the Burlington County Prison Museum right here. What are the hours of operation and the days that you're open, and what can people expect to see there?
So it's open year-round. Thursday through Saturday, they're open from 10 to 4, and Sundays from 12 to 4. Typically, it's a self-guided tour.
Which I experienced.
Yep.
Okay.
There are signs through the building and displays to show you what it would have looked like if you had been in prison in certain time periods. So we take you from 1811, how it would have been when the jail first opened, all the way up into the 1950s and 1960s, closer to the end, and how things shifted. So there's displays relating to that. There's the warden's office. You get to see all 3 floors. Cells are open for people to walk in and out of. The courtyard is open as well, where we have the gallows, where those executions that you mentioned took place. So you get to see that. We also have an audio tour, so if people don't want to just walk around and read the signs, they could, for an extra fee, you can get an audio tour. And by appointment, you could get a tour guide.
Right.
So if you have a larger group or something like that, as long as you call ahead, we can make sure somebody is there that can give you a private tour.
Wonderful, wonderful, yeah. And you've been working there for how long? How long have you been in prison?
I started there in 2003, so 16 years.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. The Burlington County Prison Museum, it's a must-see in South Jersey. So all of you northern New Jerseyans and people elsewhere, go there. Okay. Now, there's another prison museum. You are from Pennsylvania.
I am.
And so you know this one, the Old Jail Museum in Jim Thorpe, Pennsylvania. And can you tell us something, because I've done the tour here as well.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Can you tell us something about this prison here?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a little bit newer than the Mount Holly prison, the Burlington County prison. But it's a totally different experience if you go to that one than as opposed if you come to ours.
Right.
But they do guided tours on a regular basis as well, where you get to go into the dungeon in the basement. It's a little creepy.
I was there. I was
creepy.
there. Yeah.
You see where they did executions as well. Theirs were different. They did theirs inside where ours are outside. You get
Yours
to
were
see
in the
that.
courtyard.
Yeah.
In the courtyard.
Yep. All outside in the courtyard. So, but you get to see that as well. See the cells, see how prisoners were held, hear about one of their infamous cases with the Molly Maguires.
Yes.
And murders that took place. They do a whole big thing on that. So it's a neat place. It's worth the visit.
Great, great. Now, there is a website. There's a website for almost everything nowadays. This one is called Black Sheep Ancestors. And we once did a show on finding your pirate ancestor. This is like having your offbeat black sheep family member research. And Black Sheep Ancestors will list prisons state by state and what their holdings are. So if you have an ancestor who was in prison in Pennsylvania or in New Jersey, in New York, or up in Ohio somewhere, you can go there, Black Sheep Ancestors. And you can also find pirate in your family, or if one of your, this is horrible to say, if one of your ancestors was deemed insane. They have records of these homes where they would place the insane people years ago. I hate to use that word, but that's what they called them at those times.
Yes.
Well, listen, this has been a wonderful interview with Marisa Bozarth, historian for the Burlington County Prison Museum in Mount Holly, Burlington County, New Jersey. I can't wait till I go to jail now and do some research. Thank you so much, Marisa, for coming all the way up here and sharing your knowledge and expertise with us. And as I say every time I do this show, we are all descendants of ancient civilizations. Genealogy is your key to the history of your family. And so until next time, this is Stephen Conti wishing you the very best of luck in your research and above all, happy ancestor hunting. Good night.